Look at this diagram. It shows that 81% of men and 82% of women currently believe they suffer from some kind of medical sexual disorder. But the data reveals a massive illusion. The vast majority of these people are completely physically healthy. That false belief carries a devastating weight. Young adults are actually calling off their weddings, terrified they'll ruin their partner's life. And clinics are fielding calls from patients experiencing severe depressive and suicidal thoughts, entirely driven by performance anxiety. By the end of this video, I'm going to walk you through a specific protocol called outplay. It is a 15-minute window that dictates the chemical bonding and long-term desire within a relationship. Right now, sheer panic is driving people toward dangerous shortcuts. When someone takes an unprescribed blue pill, they force their body's entire blood supply straight into their genitals, completely depriving their heart of the flow it naturally needs. For individuals with underlying blood pressure or heart issues who grab these off the counter, that sudden cardiovascular shock induces fatal heart attacks right in the bedroom. Most of these perceived dysfunctions boil down to a lack of understanding regarding the biological rules and the timeline of intimacy. This animation illustrates a biological divergence between men and women. On the left, the male arousal pathway illuminates instantly at the base, driven by a physical rush of testosterone. But the female pathway operates differently, slowly lighting up from the brain downward. Jumping straight to physical penetration before this process completes leads to friction, pain, and a condition known as female erectile dysfunction, where the physical pathways remain entirely dry. Activating that top-down pathway requires a timeline that starts hours before anyone enters the bedroom. This is verbal foreplay, sending a text early in the day, paying attention to what your partner is wearing, and building psychological anticipation. Cultural icons like Emran Hashmi tapped into a specific biological trigger, intense attention to detail. Long before any physical contact, those characters made partners feel mentally prioritized, which is the necessary starting point for female arousal. Arousal stays dormant as long as the mind is preoccupied. In this context, the brain functions as the primary sexual organ. Even when couples do establish that mental connection, they often sabotage themselves with modern hygiene habits. Applying heavily perfumed soaps and synthetic powders to private areas actively destroys the body's natural flora. These chemicals cause immediate irritation and recurring bacterial infections. Clinical studies even link the prolonged use of certain synthetic powders inside the body to an increased risk of cervical cancer. This wireframe maps out a much safer route for physical touch. Notice the intense glowing clusters at the scalp, behind the ears, and all the way down at the toes. These are incredibly dense networks of nerve endings that most people completely ignore during intimacy. Aggressive, chemically driven techniques numb the body's natural responses. True physical pleasure comes from understanding human anatomy, not overriding it with modern shortcuts. That exact same logic applies to what we eat. The market is flooded with expensive intimacy chocolates and synthetic stamina boosters that promise instant results, but often leave you feeling jittery and exhausted. Instead, traditional kitchens hold scientifically proven alternatives. This is raw ashwagandha root. Rather than spiking your heart rate, it acts as a powerful mind relaxant, calming the nervous system while steadily building baseline endurance. Then there is shilajit resin. Its biological function is to actively clear built-up toxins from the bloodstream, rejuvenating cellular health and naturally increasing the quality of your blood flow without the sudden crash. If you need something immediate right before you enter the bedroom, boil some warm water, add carom seeds or ajwain, and a little black pepper. It safely dilates your blood vessels, instantly creating warmth and boosting circulation. Genuine, reliable physical endurance is built by giving your body the nutrients needed to pump blood efficiently, not by shocking your system with artificial stimulants. All of that preparation brings us to the most vulnerable moment of the entire process. The absolute fastest way to destroy a relationship is to immediately roll over, grab your phone, and create physical distance the exact second intercourse ends. This brings us to the outplay protocol. It is a mandatory 15 to 20-minute window of aftercare. It means staying close, holding your partner, and validating the connection you just shared to properly close the intimacy loop. Look at the chemical stakes on this scale. Proper outplay floods the brain with oxytocin, the bonding hormone, securing that deep attachment. But if you immediately disengage, the body panics and the stress hormone cortisol comes crashing down on the system. Bringing external ego or demanding authority inside this space acts as an immediate trigger for that cortisol. Intimacy requires total psychological safety, and ego shatters that instantly. Looking back at the statistics from the start of the video, many perceived medical issues are actually solved by simply completing the intimacy loop with this protocol. True physical connection is a conscious, chronological practice.